in accordance with Sessional Order 2.2, and I will call the member for Maroochydore.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm pleased to be able to rise in the adjournment as we were gagged from speaking on the budget appropriation or the appropriation bill with more than $28 billion.
On a point of order, Mr Speaker.
Sorry. What is your point of order?
As the minister who received the call of the Speaker on a debate, I take personal offence from the member for Maroochydore that I sought to gag anyone, and I ask her to withdraw.
Will you withdraw, member for Maroochydore?
I withdraw. Mr Speaker, this House has been gagged by this incredibly incompetent Treasurer that came in here asking for $28 billion without a due process and without budget appropriation.
Pause the clock. What is your point of order?
I take personal offence at the words used about my competency by the member for Maroochydore, and I ask her to withdraw.
Will you withdraw, member?
I withdraw.
Thank you.
Mr Speaker, $28 billion has just been appropriated, whereas we've never seen in the history of this parliament in 150 years any other government apply the gag motions the way this lazy Labor government has. Never in the history of 150 years have we seen the gag motion.
Please resume your seat, member for Maroochydore. What is your point of order?
As the minister who received the call in the debate, I rose to speak. I sought to gag no one, Mr Speaker, and I take offence personally at those words.
Member, in this instance, Treasurer, there was a generalisation about the government side of the House and not a specific individual. So I don't think we can actually claim that in this particular instance. I call the member for Maroochydore.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Because never in the history of this parliament have we seen a government come in here week after week, at the start of the week, move gag motions, which essentially put a limit around the legislation, meaning that legislation would often have to be passed by a certain time and there wouldn't be the scrutiny of the committee in detail, that time when we go into the detail of legislation. And we've seen this government now bringing in billions of dollars in appropriation bills without a proper budget process. Arrogant. What an arrogant government. We need a change of government. In 5 years, what we've seen under this lazy Labor government has been an arrogance where they have complete disregard for some of the hard stories.
Pause the clock. Pause the clock. Treasurer, member for Gympie are both warned under standing orders for quarrelling across the chamber and for not putting your comments through the chair. The member for Maroochydore has the call.
Mr Speaker, in 150 years we've never seen the appalling behaviour that we've seen in the last 5 years, but in particular this term under this Labor government. With gag motion after gag motion, usually at the beginning of the week, but we've also now seen $28 billion taken in appropriation without a budget process. We in the LNP believe and know that state deserves better than this. We've got to rebuild the economy. We've got to get people working again with competency, and it will never happen under this Labor government. That's why we're committed to working with business, working with Queenslanders in our communities who've been through the hell of COVID, but to ensure that we don't lose a generation to welfare dependency. We've got to get our economy going again. As a proud member of the Sunshine Coast, I love representing my area, and I'm passionate about fighting for it first, fighting for the infrastructure, but most of all caring for people. And I will fight to keep my people safe, and I will fight to also see our economy rebuilt. And for the rest of Queensland, we in the LNP stand together because we know our state deserves better than not just $90 billion worth of debt before COVID and the worst unemployment figures and confidence in small business before COVID. We need an LNP government to get Queensland working again.